Okay. Quickly? Yeah, that TV isn't on. That doesn't work, so this one does. So
Mine would just want to.
Oh, okay. But the bathroom one?
it does. It is. You're good. Okay. Hey, good evening. The Special Design Review Board public meeting of January 29th, 2015 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones at this time. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by visiting our website at www.glendaleca.gov. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that all appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. In terms of a roll call, Board Member Charchin.
Present.
Board Member Malikian.
Here.
Board Member Palmer.
Here.
Board Member Simonian.
Present.
Chairman Mardian.
Here.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this special meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on January 26, 2015. Oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. I don't have any oral communication cards. Chairman Mardian, I don't believe you do as well.
Either.
I did not receive any, so. We have one case on tonight's agenda dealing with the Chevy Chase Country Club project. However, before going on to that particular item, we request that the minutes be taken under consideration because at this point in time, we do have the full board available.
Okay.
Would that be
Sure. Yes.
all right by the board? We have two sets of minutes, one from December 11th, 2014, and one from January 8th, 2015. In terms of the minutes from December 11th, board members Mardian, Charchin, and Palmer were present.
I move that we approve those minutes.
I second.
I have a motion by board member Palmer, a second by board member Charchin. Roll call, board member Charchin.
Yes.
Board member Palmer.
Yes.
Chairman Mardian.
Yes.
The motion passes 3-0. And for the minutes of January the
8th.
just misplaced them. January the 8th, all board members were present.
A motion to approve the January 8 minutes.
Second now?
I have a motion by board member Charchin and a second by board member Simonian. In terms of a roll call, board member Malikian.
Yes.
Board member Charchin.
Yes.
Board member Simonian.
Yes.
Board member Palmer.
Yes.
And Chairman Mardian.
Yes.
The motion passes to pass the minutes, 5-0. Okay. With that, I'd like to turn the meeting over either to Chairman Mardian or to Mr. Rather Duong, who's the case planner.
Go ahead, Mr. Duong.
Well, before we
Oh,
begin,
and forgive,
Oh, yeah.
yes. that's-
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask to be recused from this session.
And I would also.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Mardian and board members. The item before you tonight is case numbers PSRCDR 1421101 and PZC 1426485. The subject property is located at 3067 East Chevy Chase Drive, also known as Chevy Chase Country Club. The project consists of a 20,795 square foot expansion to the existing 11,520 square foot clubhouse. This project also is proposing to reconfigure the existing parking lots and spaces, reconfigure the pool and new landscaping around the periphery of the building and parking lots, as well as the construction of 4 new tennis courts above the city-owned reservoir. The proposed expansion is in conjunction with the zoning map amendment and SR development review applications to create a precise plan of design, PPD overlay zone. These applications will be considered by the Planning Commission and the City Council at future meetings. The subject property is approximately 34-acre site consisting of 2 adjoining parcels. The property was developed in 1927, but the building has undergone numerous modifications since its construction. The country club, as I stated, the building itself is approximately 11,520 square feet. It is L-shaped in plan view, and the country club also features a 9-hole golf course, a pool, and parking facility. The building is designed in the Spanish colonial revival style. Also of note is the existence of a Southern California Edison easement that bisects the site in the southeast and northeast direction. The existing clubhouse sits on the southern edge of the Chevy Chase Country Club, near the intersection of Chevy Chase and Golf Club drives. The existing L-shaped building is comprised of 2 perpendicular wings joined at the northeast corner. Located to the east and west of the building are 2 parking lots. To the south is a swimming pool, and to the north is an open terrace, and beyond that is the golf course. This area generally slopes up from the south to north direction. The existing pool is currently oriented in the east-west direction and separated by a lawn area. This pool will be demolished, and a new pool will be constructed and will be situated in the north-south direction parallel to the existing driveway. The pool and its deck will be supported by a retaining wall and planter combination similar to the existing condition. The pool will be surrounded by a 7,500 square foot deck and lawn area. A 2,800 square foot plaza and patio on the main level, which is essentially the second level, overlook the pool area and are connected by a set of stairs. On the lower level, which is the pool deck, this area is connected to a covered arcade. A new angled portico cochere at the building northeasternmost point marks the primary entry to the building. The entry portal will extend over an existing driveway. Further to the north and east of the clubhouse, 4 tennis courts are proposed above a city-owned reservoir. These tennis courts will be non-illuminated since they are limited to daylight use only. The building is 2 stories as seen from the north and 3 stories from the south side. The lower level or first floor is partially built into the natural grade. The overall building sits on a larger base and visible from the lower level, which is essentially the southern edge of the property, where one would see all 3 levels fully expressed. The existing sloping site helps conceal a portion of the lower level, which naturally reduces the visual impact related to the mass and scale from various perspectives. The pool deck will be surrounded by planters, including stepped retaining walls, and enclosed on top with wrought iron fencing. The appropriateness in the landscaping and transparent design help reduce the visual impact. Other design techniques have been incorporated to address the changing mass of a larger building. The building offers a stepped appearance on its elevation by placing its largest volume on the lower level and smallest volume on the upper level. Also, the hipped roof design works in a similar way by creating a layered appearance. Visually, the tallest roof recedes away from the street, while the other roofs recedes from the sides. The building features numerous projecting balconies, patios, an open plaza, and covered arcades. The open design and light appearance punctuate the facade by concealing and soften the effect of solid walls behind or near it. The new portico cochere, which marks the entry, adds to the same sensibility along the east elevation due to its open design. So overall, the effective use of the balcony to downplay the mass and scale of the building is noticeable on all elevations. The project fenestration also eliminates blank walls, and provides balance to the building. So as discussed, the above-mentioned techniques and features help the project achieve a sensible mass and scale. In terms of the building design and detailing, as I stated earlier, the existing building is designed in the Spanish colonial revival style. However, it has been modified through the years. So the proposed project will introduce a more cohesive, consistent, and refined design to the building by using higher quality materials and design detailing. The roof will be hipped and flat and will be clad in clay tile. The roof also features eaves with exposed rafter tails. The overall design features a series of balconies, an open plaza, and covered arcades. These are situated throughout the building, and they are slightly different, even though their function may be similar. For example, some balconies project out and are supported by wood posts and brackets, while others are located under the primary roof and are supported by arched openings. The design variation provides visual interest and avoids monotony. However, staff believe that the separation between the top of the arch and bottom of the rafter tails should not be too close, as depicted on the south elevations. So there should be an appropriate separation between these two design elements so that each one will be fully expressed. The proposed windows are wood windows with simulated divided lights, and they also add to the visual interest of the building by way of their composition, shape, and size. Some windows are concealed behind decorative screens, others with grille, while other windows are accent windows with accidentals. And a few more are provided with canvas awnings. Staff believes that the windows with the awning should have open sides. The focal points of the open plaza on the main level are the water features and the shaped decorative stairway and its adjoining balconette. These design features also add to the depth and richness of the Spanish colonial revival style. So overall, staff believe that the applicant, the architect in this case, has successfully addressed the project site planning, mass and scale, and design and detailing. So staff is in support of the proposed project. However, this is an informal review of the proposal. The DRB is asked to consider the project and make recommendations. Your design recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council when it considers this project at a future hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Commissioners, any questions to staff?
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Mulligan.
So, you have a part. So my first question is similar projects that, not similar, but substantial projects that we've seen. One of the requirements that we've had in the past has been staking and kind of putting stakes and flagpoles and so forth, and this was not done so. What was the reason for that?
Temporary framing or story poles are only required within the single-family zone, the R1 zone, R1R, and ROS zone. This property is Zone SR, Special Recreation.
Okay. What would be the parking count for such a 30? What would be the parking ratio that they would use for this? And do they have enough parking?
The proposed project will provide enough parking. There was a parking and traffic study analysis done in conjunction with the expansion. And because it is in the SR zone, essentially development standards are different within the SR zone. So we look at the project as in its totality. And that will be considered by the Planning Commission.
So based on the number that I saw and overall, you're saying that You have about a 46 or 66-seat restaurant, and
Believe this over.
155-seat speaking event, and the rest of the facility, we have sufficient enough parking.
Yes.
And the parking numbers proposed, because this is a precise plan of design, those numbers have to be met at the end of the project. Those can't be changed once City Council approves it, if they approve it.
My last question, if you look at the main level floor plan, which is that one over there, based on the legend that it's up on the top right, essentially, I went and I looked at it, pretty much the entire facade and all the elevations are being demolished. So how is this considered as an expansion when almost all the exterior walls are coming down?
The north and east walls of the northern wing are not coming down, and portions, you're correct, many walls are coming down.
I mean,
But-
east, south or west of the restaurant section, the entire south face of all the interior walls, everything, the whole thing is coming down. So I'm just wondering, is it still considered as an expansion, or is it going to be considered as a new?
If I may answer that question, because this is an SR zone, there are no specific development standards. I think what you're trying to get at is that the property may lose non-conforming rights, which are generally applied to single-family, multifamily, and commercial and industrial developments, because we apply the non-conformity and the 50% rule threshold. But because this is an SR zone, there's no specific development standards such as height, setback, FAR, things of that may affect legal non-conforming status of a building.
But I think the question is, why is it an extension, not just a whole new building?
The formality of you can leave one single wall in this zone and it's considered as a remodel, is that what it is?
I don't think they can achieve that, too. The whole third floor is coming on there.
For my understanding.
Yeah, it's a bit of a moot point.
Okay.
Okay.
And there are no non-conforming rights being carried forward, so whether it's considered new construction or remodel wouldn't make any difference under the zoning, even if it weren't the PPD zone.
The only reason that I'm saying is that because they're using certain parts of this existing building to set and situate their site planning, so I'm just wondering, because of the existing building facility, that's why they're expanding around that area? Or, there's certain portions of the building that is coming right up to the edge of the retaining walls that it's against the parking lot. So I'm just wondering if this was considered as a brand-new building, could have been moved over, being that almost 90% of the building is coming down?
Well, I'm sure that it doesn't matter legally whether they're reusing it or not. I'm sure as a matter of economics, they would try to reuse most of the building, as much of the building as they can. And if you feel that there's something about the situation of the building and any additions that is really objectionable, you should say so, but...
No, because there's nothing objective. I'm just from my understanding, the site planning and situation, how the building is situated is based on what's there now. Some of the improvements that were in the back area, it still remains as it is. It's not clear on the plans if they are or not, but it would be much better if those areas are addressed based on if you're literally taking almost everything down, might as well fix everything else around the building rather than keep what's there and just say there's a single wall there. That's my question.
Thank you, Mr. Malika. Mr. Charcher, any questions?
Yes, to staff. There was a diagram on grading levels, but there was no mention of grading in your report. Is there any grading being done either on the overflow parking for hole number 4 or for the driveway area?
There's a grading plan that was included in your packet. and it does not show that grading will be located in the overflow parking area. It's essentially will be conducted around the existing site and around the building.
Okay. So my follow-up question is then, do we know how much cubic feet of grading is going to be done? If so, and also because of the location, is this considered hillside? And do we have to weigh in our role as DRB on the grading issue?
The underlying zone is SR, so even though the physical site may have some hilly features, it's not officially a hillside zone.
So we are not obligated to deal with the grading issue.
No, and
We'll make recommendations on
the site. I think the grading will certainly be. I can't say for sure because we don't have a number on the drawing, but it doesn't appear that it would be over the 1,500 cubic yard threshold.
Whole last applicant one comes up.
If that applied.
Well, what you're referring to, the transfer of that grading review from what had been a conditional use permit to the DRB, that applied only in the ROS and R1R zones.
Okay. I'm clarifying because this is, a special, specific zone, and we want to get clarification because it's not in the guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Charge. Mr. Duong, I had a question. Is the deck elevation changing the pool elevation, or that's pretty much the same height? Because I couldn't read from these small plans the elevations. Is that pretty much where the existing...
Essentially, for the most part, yes.
Yes, okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about the tennis courts? And how is that accessed? Is it accessed only from the club itself, from the internal part?
Yes, the way the applicant is proposing to, or the property owner proposing to utilize the tennis court is by transporting individuals via carts.
Carts,
yes.
okay.
Do we have an overall site plan for the entire complex to have a reference to where this tennis court is going?
Well, I have this drawing here that shows the entire country club
Where's the
property.
country club in reference to
This is where the building is located,
Okay.
at its southernmost portion, and then the city reservoir is located here to northeast of the clubhouse itself.
If you look at
along
this,
Cherry
if you look at the
Street.
aerial, you can see it pretty clearly. Here's the reservoir area. Here's the clubhouse.
Is there going to be a path created for the? Or,
It looks
or
like there's an
There's an existing
path
path right now.
in here.
Okay. Remember, I have a follow-up question.
Sure, Mr. Charge, go ahead.
There's a do not construct zone that's delineated for the tennis courts. Is there a specific reason for that do not construct zone?
Is it a sign that's posted?
No, it's actually in the plans. It's a do not construct zone.
Could be the easement. Which drawing are you looking at?
But it's the layout for the tennis court.
Oh, I see what you're referring to.
Yeah, I just want to know if there's if that is something that's
That's based on
Or not.
the agreement between GWP and the Chevy Chase Country Club owner, where the tennis court will not spill over to other portions of the reservoir. So that will be the extent of the tennis court location.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll open the public hearing. I'm going to go to the architect, Ralph Gentile. Hope I pronounced the last name.
Very well, very well. Thank you, Ralph Gentili. Well, thank you very much to the board and, of course, city staff. Little bit of background. This is really the namesake for Chevy Chase Canyon. The Chevy Chase Country Club was created only a few years after the subdivision started, and it's really the heart and soul of the canyon. And for the people that you're going to hear a number of people testify tonight who've lived in the canyon for many, many years, they've seen the club at its high points, where it's been a wonderful jewel to have right there on Chevy Chase Drive, to other times when it's not been the nicest thing to being around. I think we're at a unique point in time where we have current ownership. They're all very successful businessmen. That's good for us because they're used to being successful and they'd like to be successful in this project. We've done a lot of work to get to where we are tonight, and some of that work has been involved with the HOA organization, which I think we're going to hear from tonight, and to what the meaning of the Chevy Chase Country Club is to them. They were formed at a time when the club was going to be divided up and sold back in the 30s during the Depression. And their sole purpose at that time was to keep Security National Bank from cutting up the club. So these are people that are pretty committed to the country club being part of the canyon. The second thing that we did, or as important, was hold a meeting with them in October and listen very carefully, present the plans that you see today, and listen very carefully to the 60 or so people that came that night, to their concerns, everything from some of the things that you're talking about tonight to some other stuff that may still come up. And we responded to that with changes in how we thought about this club and how it might operate, and in addition, what kinds of things they're looking for to being a good neighbor and also being their community center. One question is why the PPD overlay zone? So very short answer on that is that the current zoning that we're in, the SR zone, does not have specific development standards because it's a special recreation zone. And so we're very unusual from that point of view. And the forethought by the Glendale City Council, et cetera, to have this mechanism to put in place reasonable design standards for a project like this is something that's very, very useful to us. We did meet a number of times with staff in relationship to the architecture, and I know there's some very good questions tonight from you on why we're keeping the club exactly where it is, why are we not moving up the hill, moving it away, moving it this way and that way. And the short answer to that is that our goal when we're done with this club is we'd love for people to think that this club has been this way since 1925, that it's been a wonderful part of the canyon. If we begin moving it, we also uncover some other issues. You may know, and you can see on that Google map, that we're very close to a debris basin, which is just south of our property. And we want to be very careful that we don't change any of the grading or drainage that we currently enjoy. That large area there that looks like a big swimming pool, that's a debris basin. So again, one of the things that we know from architecture is that if a building's been in its place a long period of time, of course it's burnt twice, so we're going to have extra good Ansel system this time, but that there's a good reason that it's there, that the siding is actually pretty good, and that's not only an economic issue, but it's also a sense of place issue. Let me move on to a couple of other points that I wanted to make sure that that you are aware of. The historic significance of the building is really more as a place and in the community's mind. Unfortunately, the club is burnt not once but twice, and that most of the features of the club have been renovated over time. So there's very little historic there. But for this, submission to City Council and for Planning Commission, we did have a historic study done, and that will be presented to Council. The second thing that came up in your concerns were traffic, and there is a full traffic study, a very careful study, a study that looked how this club has to operate to be a success, and what kind of amenities we have to have a successful club, and then what kind of features we need to have so that those amenities can operate correctly. So that parking study is complete and has been turned in to the city, and I hope you have an opportunity to see that as well. I'm the architect, so I'm a good person to ask certain questions to, especially in relationship to operations. Our firm is a hospitality firm. Our main work is with resorts. Is that me?
So give him.
So resorts, hotels, restaurants, etc. And one thing that I've been actually asked on national TV is how to keep sound under control. So if you have some sound questions for you, I'm your man.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, exceptional job. I really like the design, and I think you've done a great job trying to keep it consistent with what's there now. So my questions are a little bit more technical and trying to understand some of the decision making. And with all due respect, it's very difficult to understand some of the drawings that it's been presented. Section cuts are not properly cut, so you have to spend a lot of time trying to understand where they're coming from. But some of the questions that I have, is in particular to the existing building and portions of it that is being kept as, let's say, the footprint. You've chosen to leave the trash and recycle at far end of that, where, and also you maintain the Sunset Terrace. You call it the Sunset Terrace. I'm assuming it's an existing because I can't figure out from the plans if it is a proposed or if it's an existing. I believe it's an existing, and that's kept where it is now. So the extent and the amount of money that it's going to be spent, why not address that area well and be able to kind of accommodate some of the people that are going to be using the back area rather than open up a trash and recycle right facing that area. So that's my unknown and kind of a gray area. That's why I'm questioning. I'm not telling you to take the building and why didn't you put it up on the hill, and that's fine. The other question that I have is that, by doing the addition along the west end of this section that it's coming towards the Golf Club Drive and Chevy Chase Drive, that is being pushed against the ramp and the cart ramp itself. So I don't know, by looking at the plans, is it a slope going down into a underground subterranean cart storage? And if it is, what happens to the elevation there? Because the way it's drawn is just a simple two-story structure, and that's creating a large facade there. And I'm not sure, areas like that. And the last question, which is, and the rest of them we can talk about the design, but the last question that I have from you is, when I asked you about or staff about the parking, the structure is being increased by 2.5 times. Right now it's 10,000, it's turning into a 32,000. And what everybody's saying is that the parking is fine, we meet the parking, but increasing a building 2.5 times, I haven't seen the study or the traffic study, but all those cars that are going to come, nothing being proposed to the street or that area, that being, all these cars are going to get dumped onto that small little turn or the hammerhead or whatever you want to call it. And it's being that so close to Chevy Chase Drive, the stop sign is there. How is that traffic is going to be controlled? How are the cars are going to come out and go? And what are the noise impact? Like you said, so those are the questions that I have, and I don't see any environmental report or any of those traffic reports to study that.
So should I take those questions first one at a time? I think the first one was in relationship to the Sunset
Terrace and the trash and all that.
So initial studies, we looked at different ways of orienting that Sunset Terrace, but we also have the advantage that our current ownership has actually owned the club for about 2 years. So you've probably had this experience with a house. When you move in, you think you want to do everything. You want to change all of it. And then you realize by living in it for a few years, you live in it, you figure out these are important things to our membership. We don't want to change that. So, for example, we did look at raising the Sunset Terrace up or lowering it down, but there are 2 putting greens that are immediately off the Sunset Terrace. Let me just finish. 2 putting greens. And that is one of the most interesting community moments, because you'll see golfers who've played 9 holes, they've come back to the course, and they get up there and they have fun. They really have a blast. They're putting, they're having a good time. So to eat into that, which would probably what we'd want to do, expanding the Sunset Terrace, when we presented that to ownership, they said, no, that's one of the most important things for our club membership. The current trash situation is not very good, because the current trash situation is that the cans are on the street. So what we're doing with that trash enclosure is we're actually enclosing it completely. It's not only trash, it's trash, recycling, etc. We're closing it completely and conditioning it. So we're not going to have any smells, we're not going to have any sound, and it opens from the service sides, from the kitchen side as well as from the trash truck side. So that's how we're going to control that. Again, the traffic study was done for the City Council and the Planning Commission submittal, and that is in staff's hands. I'm guessing that it's not part of your DRB.
It's not, but just brought it up so it'll be on the record. So if council members, when they see it, that's the.
And I have to say, it wasn't gone into lightly, meaning that we had to make a clear understanding how this property is going to be used and how it's going to accommodate what you're talking about. So, and there has been specific recommendations agreed to by Glendale Transportation, saying you need to do it this way. 2 things, not only how the club operates, but also how it operates on the peak days and how it would operate during construction. Very good concern, though,
well,
by the way.
Going back to the Sunset Terrace, I didn't mean for you to raise or move. What I'm concerned about is the bottleneck that you have as you come out and so forth. So you've addressed pretty much everywhere else except the back area. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity for you to address that.
Yeah, we haven't raised or lowered it, but what we've done, we pulled it away from the building. So if you go there now, there are a number of small bollards that are there. We made it much more connected to much more connected to that upper snack bar area. The last one is the cart thing. To address that really carefully, it's currently in a pretty good location. The grade is sort of slightly down to go in there. The number of carts is given and fixed. We can't actually.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the cart. I'm concerned about the structure that you're putting right along the cart pathway. Large elevation. I don't have an elevation that shows how tall that section is going to be. It seems like it's going to be about a 3-story building at that point.
So it's, Commissioner, if I could point, Chairman is very close to it.
You're welcome to come up closer to the board.
I can go to the board?
Yes, of course. And there's a pointer right here as well.
But a very good question, and it's an interesting one. So the cart path actually comes by gym and exercise, by this storage area, and then goes straight in here. These 4 windows are into the cart area.
I see.
That's the cart. This is actually an overhang, so if you look here, you're saying, how can the cart path do that? But what we've done, and this is very common in Spanish colonial architecture, to have these overhangs that are actually buttressed and arched. And then our landscape designer, who you happen to know, has done a very nice job of giving us some transparency here, which will protect that. So we looked at relocating the cart thing, but it actually works pretty well. Okay. If it isn't broken, let's not fix it too much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I want to make sure I got all your questions.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Charcher?
I'm going to follow up on one thing that isn't clear to me, and usually I ask the trash questions, so I'm glad that you did this time. You mentioned that you have a separate agreement with the city on refuse collection and so forth. Are you going through the portico?
No. So the
service road?
Yeah. No. So trash will come and pick up, but the way they come is they come up, and there's we also have we don't have a loading requirement because we don't have actually a zone, but we have, we're going to have deliveries, et cetera, et cetera. There's a flat area there Yeah, right by the port cochere, exactly. That's also the location of our disabled access. There was a question before about the amount of grading. If you look at the grading plan, and we actually have our civil engineer tonight, so if you'd like to ask him a question, you may, of course. But there's a minimal amount of grading that's going on. We're correcting some faults that are in the current parking area, but we're not doing a substantial amount of grading. And again, that was to help preserve the character of the club.
So, just to clarify, and not to be crass, but the service delivery of vehicles from whatever the vendors are going to be or are, and the city services basically come up to the front entrance of the building.
Adjacent to the adjacent to the front entrance.
Okay,
correct.
and then go around back.
Yeah. It's interesting again how this club is used. Most of the golfers, and we have our pro here tonight, actually go to the west lot because that's the closest to the pro shop. That's the closest to everything else. So during the daytime, I would say, generally speaking, the port cochere will not be as active as we might like it to be. However, say in the evening for an evening event or afternoon event, on a weekend where we wouldn't have deliveries, that port cochere will be the, our pride and joy coming in that way.
Thank you, Mr. Churchin. Did you have another question, Mr.
No, I do
Wong?
not. Thank you.
No, I'm trying to figure out where these sections are cut, so I think I figured it out.
Took me a while,
Yeah.
Mr. Ralph, I had a couple of questions. What's your hours of operation in this particular case? Since you have
There's
these,
two seasons for the club, generally speaking. There's a summer season, which tends to be longer, and a winter season that tends to be shorter.
Okay, but as far as events taking place, such as weddings or, as you're showing, a good size meeting area.
Correct. So the summer, so let me explain that. So there's two kinds of things. There's the golf kind of activities and tennis. Those usually start at sort of sunrise at about sunset, because obviously we don't have any lights on the course. In addition, we don't have any lights on our tennis court. So those, and that's also the kind of social membership too. So the pool activities, will likely have a swim team as well, but those kind of things are mostly daytime activities. During the summer, there will be afternoon special events, like a birthday party or something like that, and those would occur in sort of an afternoon session. I mean, of course, people can book it whenever they want, but sort of an afternoon session. For the evening events, those, and again, this is tied into the parking study because we have to make sure that we can accommodate everything that's happening on the site. Those evening events probably would start about, staff would arrive about 4:30 or 5. The early component of the event, let's call it cocktails, would happen between 7 and 8. If it was a wedding, that might happen promptly at 8:30, and the reception that would go into the evening. I think currently on our parking study we have what we currently have, which is music ending at 12 o'clock and all guests and everybody else being gone by 1.
I'm assuming you will have valet service for these events?
So again, the size of the event makes a difference. So what you see on the parking plan is the east and west re-striped and replanted so that they comply with some new planting that we would like to have for that. And then an overflow area, which is actually the third hole, right? So we kind of looked at the witching hour like the worst possible thing. Like we've got events and it's full summer and it's 4th of July, right? That's what we looked at in the parking study. And I encourage you to look at it. Typically for the kind of evening event that I think you're referring to, we would not be using those overflow parking to a great extent. So it would really be the 4th of July picnic where we would see that happening.
You're preserving all oak trees to the property?
We are.
Okay.
And I should say the big redwoods, the 4 big redwoods that you see.
I know. Now, what's the, no question about the building style and the way you've chosen. Why are you using a metal roof in that area that he's talking about where the cart storage is? The metal roof cladding right in that area?
Yeah, it's interesting. we could conceivably go to Spanish tile there as well. But again, part of the charm of Spanish revival is a little bit of serendipity, a little bit of, oh my gosh.
I get that.
Okay, so, if it bugged you a lot, I'm sure
No, it's
ownership.
not. I just,
It's also a 212 pitch,
Yeah.
and that may not work for tile sometimes.
The other question, I don't know if I missed it or not, inherent, the style inherits some of these older, authenticity. I didn't see whether it was one-piece or two-piece tile.
So it is two-piece.
It is two-piece, okay.
The current building has actually an S tile, so it's the one.
Yeah, I know,
piece,
it's mixed, though.
Right.
It's got the
Yeah.
old part and the new.
Our intention is that if we're able to save some of the tile, it's always a rough
always
call.
that,
If
okay.
we're able to save some of it and use it in some important area, we would. But we just don't know what's going to come off there.
The other question, what's the roof material on this snack tower? Because it wasn't really called out.
Yeah, that's a flat terracotta tile.
Flat terracotta, okay.
Yeah.
I saw some color there.
Yeah.
And I asked staff earlier, the grade elevation of the existing pool is basically where the new pool elevation will be, or the new deck, or the courtyard? Okay.
Correct. We've taken some care, and there was some concern before by commission, along the street. So we've taken some care, although we're not required to do this as a residential might be required. We've asked our civil to build a short wall, 3 foot high, back from the property line to allow us a low level of planting. And then there's a planter and then 5 foot of wall in front of our pool wall. And the reason, and you can see it in the perspective sketch, the reason is that gives us a good opportunity to put a really great face to the public. 2 kinds. First, some larger trees that would fit there. And in addition, what we really like is a little bit of seasonal color. Now, of course, the deer will eat them all, but that's the idea.
Yeah. My last question is, this radius here that you have, it seems like it's very close to the street. I know it's the property line, there may be no required setback. Have you thought of pushing it a little back for, I know you have the pool size to deal with. Any way to get that little more?
So that, Commissioner, that's what we did, is we said, look, how can we mitigate being too close to the street? And again, we're lucky to have a clever civil engineer. He said, what if we do a retaining wall at the lower level that allows to do that? That way we're able to get a reasonable sized pool deck, but have some kind of buffer between the street. Currently, if you've gone to the property, you see that it's really right on the street, and that is too close.
But you're coming closer to the other edge there further. I mean, you're occupying that whole part. I just feel it's a little too close, but if there's size issues with the pool,
I should mention that this is a competition pool, so there will be a swim team that's associated with the club, like Flint Ridge and some other La Cañada have. It's an intramural kind of, not official, but that's also a very good way for us to have social membership, a family that has kids that want to learn how to swim, and then they become junior swimmers, then they become high school kids, and it's a very nice thing for the canyon to have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rowe. Any other questions?
I have 2 questions to staff.
for it.
If you'll allow
Staff?
them.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can
Should I stay here?
No, you don't have to.
Thank you very much.
Who owns the debris basin? Do we know?
I believe that's City of Glendale.
Okay. And do we have the parking study here?
I do.
Can I flip through it, please? Thank you.
Is that all? Thank you. I'll open the public hearing. I have a lot of cards, and some of them are in favor. I'm going to limit the speakers to 3 minutes, and I would appreciate it if you're in support, just come up and say in support. I see a lot of individuals here. With that, I'm going to call Mr. Nick Agakanian, actually the owner of the property. Thank you.
Hi there. First of all, thank you very much for setting up this special event for us. I know it's difficult on a night that you guys are not usually here, but then now you have to come in and hear us, all of us here.
Your name,
Anyway,
I'm sorry, your name.
Sorry,
and
my name
address
is
for the
Nick
record.
Agakanian, and I wasn't prepared to speak because I didn't know that you're supposed to speak here. I thought I can just come and say hello and hear see what people have to say. But the only thing that I want to say is that 2 years ago that we acquired the property, when I walked into that property, I saw what it can be, and I saw what all these people who are sitting here that are favor, and all our members that we have, whether the golfers, social members, summer members. I saw that the place was just dying and going down the ground, and I made a commitment. I made a commitment with my partners to the community, to the HOA, and I told them that we're going to build this place, and this place is going to be the jewel that once was. One thing I want to point out that we're going to do the right thing. Whatever the right thing is, it is going to be to code. It is going to be what the canyon wants. It is going to be what the city wants. And this is not going to be one of those halls that you see in Glendale that they pack 600 people. That is not going to be the place. So put that on the record. We're going to make sure that the community is going to come and is going to take advantage of what we built that is going to be there for the next 100 years. It's not about the money. We're not here to make money at this place because we will not. There's going to be a lot of money that we're going to put in there. It's just the commitment. I said this at the HOA meeting, and I'm going to say it again so the city council knows, the board knows. My dad told me, son, when I was little, he said, if you're going to do something, do the right thing. And if you're not going to do the right thing, don't do it at all. So, thank you for your time, and that's it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Ken.
Mayor. Just for the record, I don't think we had an address.
Oh, my,
You don't need it?
You don't need it.
Okay.
it's filled out on the.
It's an SR zone.
It's always mentioned. So I thought
Just
I would,
give an address
I would
for the
help.
record, yeah.
Yeah, I should have said that
Typically, yes.
earlier. Thank you. Next speaker is a neighbor, Linda Bevine. Please state your name and address for the record.
Linda Bevan,
Bevan,
as in
sorry.
heaven.
That's a good place to be.
Thank you.
We're all going there.
Just a quick question. I am a neighbor. I have a wonderful westerly view of the golf course and what will be the tennis courts. And my only concern really is for the sustainability of the club and the golf course. And recognizing that this is a huge project. By the way, I'm a retired banker, so I think that way. But recognizing the magnitude of this project, will the city confirm that financing is in place before it's undertaken? Is that part of the role of the city?
No.
It's not part of our role, but and you can talk to staff afterwards or bring it up to city council. Maybe they'll direct you for that.
Is there any presentation on where the financing is coming from?
I'm going to refer to staff, but I don't think there is. I don't think it's part of the,
Yeah, it's not part of what we review at the city level. So.
Okay.
Once they get a building permit, they're allowed to do, and the approvals, they can move forward.
The permit, at the time the permit is issued, financing is confirmed?
No.
No?
They
Okay.
can do, they can start construction after the building permit is issued.
Okay.
And, of course, this body and the city council has to approve it. But I don't think we have anything in the rules that says, they have to have financing. And I'm assuming, what I see on the drawings, I think that it's a good project, and I think they've thought about the financing before they came here.
Thank you.
I have a club member, Ken Berman.
Thank you. My name is Ken Bierman. I live at 2306 Rose Crest Drive, Glendale 91208. First, thank you for the opportunity for all of us here this evening, and I might comment that I appreciate your comments this evening. I think a lot of us have been enlightened to a number of things. I've lived in and worked in Glendale over 46 years and see this is one of the best things that's been happening or could happen around here in Glendale. Both my wife and I have served on the board, the Men's Clubs board. I'm president currently, as I was previously, and my wife was also president of the Women's Club. So we have a pretty good feel about things up at Chevy Chase. I will say that with our ownership, we feel very gratified in having these gentlemen working and being a part of it this year because we've seen a number of things take place the last couple of years that they've been there. Not only have things improved around the course, but certainly seeing all this and you gentlemen having an opportunity to see what's going to be there, we're really excited. Yeah, we love the golf course. We're out there to play because that's the thing we're most interested, but we also have a number of events that take place in the room areas, et cetera, that are going to be there, and it's going to really enhance things, and I think it's going to bring a lot more interest from within Glendale itself because of it. I think our new pro that the owners have brought on here in the last year, Rick Moore, has done an outstanding job for our golf program, and I think this is just going to enhance the visibility for others along with the new development. Overall, I think that the owners, to us at least, have been there. They continue to support things that we've asked for. I think questions that have been directed towards them, certainly I felt Nick was honest in his approach and comments that they do what they intend to do. They haven't given us some stories and gone some other directions. And I think this is important for you gentlemen to know that and certainly to pass it on with the City Council. So from my position at least, and echoing my wife as well, that we're really pleased to have this opportunity to see the changes coming about. We've had a number of owners, a number of things in the number of years that we've been members, but I think this one time is something that we're looking at that's going to be something that's going to benefit not only the members, the community, but certainly within the whole city itself. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker is Chris Kohlmeier.
Hi there, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you folks on the behalf of this project. My name is Chris Kohlmeier, 1916 Chilton Drive, Glendale, California, and I'm a lifelong resident of Glendale. Back when I was in high school, I'm not going to tell you when, the Hoover High School golf team, we played golf at the Chevy Chase Country Club. And so I remember it way long ago. I'm currently a member there. I am really excited by the current ownership and the commitment that they have made to improving this part of Glendale. Chevy Chase Country Club is absolutely a jewel in this city, and it's a hidden jewel. And the current ownership is fully committed. We've gotten to know them the last couple of years. One of the partners is a longtime Glendale resident as well. His brother played basketball for my brother at Hoover High School, and we're talking 30, 35 years ago. So the commitment that this current ownership has to improving the country club that has just been piecemealed over the last several years is just going to be a huge improvement to the Chevy Chase Canyon area. And I look at it from a activity standpoint, with the improvement of the pool and the golf course area, and of course the tennis courts, that just opens up more recreational opportunities. And this is a private entity that is doing these recreational activities. And I think it is just a huge asset to not only the Chevy Chase Canyon area, the Glen Oaks Canyon area, and a lot of the east side of Glendale. Because once this project is completed and people see the beauty and the care that has been taken and the improvement in the Chevy Chase area, I think it's going to become the jewel, and it's not going to be hidden anymore, which will be sad for us because we may have to wait on the third hole a little bit longer. But it's going to become that jewel that it has in the past been here for the city of Glendale, and I just think your recommendation to the City Council and in support of this project is a benefit to everybody in the city of Glendale, and I want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. I have Peter Felchin.
If we could share with the audience, if you're here in support and you've already heard your comments presented, you can just stand up and say, I support the project, but if you want to speak, by all means do. And if you have comments about the design, we'd definitely like to hear that. Thanks.
My name is Peter Felchlin. I live in Burbank, 431 South Mariposa. I'm a member. I am in support. I will try and avoid reiterating what others have said. The one point I want to make is that when I joined over 10 years ago, the country club was like a rudderless ship. The ownership had no vision, no idea where they were going to go. Maintaining the club was incidental. When these gentlemen took over 2 years ago, finally somebody had a vision. And I think what you see there is the result of that vision. And I think the community would be benefited greatly if these plans were approved and the changes were made. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir. I have Lynn Shanka?
Yeah, that's me.
All right. Come on up, Mr. Shanka. It's like you're in the back of the class there.
Thank you,
Are you a
gentlemen.
troublemaker?
My name's Len Shanka. I live at 1620 Parway Drive, which is right on the golf course. I have been a member, worked there, and enjoyed there for 48 years. So, yeah, I've had a great time there. I think the new management, I think they know what they're doing. I welcome seeing new changes because I like to see the golf course prosper. I don't want it to become something else. Again, like somebody just announced a moment ago, I kind of support pretty much everything that was said. My goodness. You know, what can something else be up there? I mean, I love golf. I'm a member in Oakmont also. I love golf. I went to Glendale High School. I got a scholarship to UCLA through my golf, and it was only because of my play at Chevy Chase. And it's my home, and it was my son's home and my daughter's home, and yeah, they've done a good job. And I think the best thing that can happen is to keep that a real golf course. And I think that Nick and his crew, no, that's not fair to say. I know that Nick and his crew want to make that the same place. And so I hope that will indeed progress. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you from Glendale High School. I thought I'm going to see only Hoover. I'm at Glendale High School myself.
You're much younger than me, but
I know you. You got more hair though.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you. Cecilio Perez.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Cecilio Perez. I live at 2653 Piedmont, up in Montrose. About 4 years ago, I joined this membership. Love the place. Love the game. I play it often. 2.5 years ago, my daughter decided she wants to play golf. Because of Chevy Chase, I was able to play with her. Right now, she's in her junior year, and she's getting offers at this point for her to play and get a scholarship. If this place was not here, that would not be happening. I support this project. Chevy Chase Country Club opened the doors for the colleges in the community, for the CB High School in the community, to come and play for free and practice. Open doors. And that is only going to improve. I hope you guys say yes, a strong yes to this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Jeanette Mueller.
Good evening. My name is Jeanette Mueller. I live at 3064 East Chevy Chase Drive, which is directly across the street from the club. I'm extremely excited to see what's in front of me, you guys, but also the renderings. I've lived in the community for 15 years, been a member of the club for 13. My daughters they were babies when they were in the pool. They joined the swim team. They have raced. We have brought La Cañada, Oakmont, all the other country clubs to our club. the condition in which it was in, yes, it's a little embarrassing, but we're still very proud of the club. The owners came in 2 years ago, and I have seen the ownership change numerous times. But when they came in, we had a group, the House Committee group, which consisted of social members such as myself, men, women, golf, all these members, and they listened to us. They listened to our needs. They listened to the community needs. And they've been wonderful, and I'm in full support of this. I'm excited to see it happen. And the only sad part is that I won't have a pool to walk across the street to until it's all done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Bill Nicole.
Only 3 pages. Big type.
You got 3 minutes, so 1 minute a page.
Got it. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Bill Nickel. I'm a 25-year resident of Chevy Chase Canyon, and also on the board of directors and secretary, although I'm speaking as an individual this evening. A number of years have been a succession of owners over the have attempted to make the club work. Unfortunately, they were just not successful. We had one group come in and buy the club because they liked to play golf and they wanted to have a toy. We had another group come in and they worked very, very hard and diligently and just couldn't make it. And most of these folks had not sufficient resources and, frankly, not sufficient knowledge to run a club. They all tried, but couldn't make a go of it. The current owners have stepped up to the plate and committed significant resources to the end of creating a facility that will benefit both the residents of the canyon and the city, and of course their own business plan. They are successful business people and wouldn't be expected to invest foolishly. They brought together a team of professionals who have the knowledge and experience to identify the club's needs, and with the owner's support, have proceeded with a plan that will add greatly to the facility, the residents' accommodations, and the city's benefits. As you've been told, the owners and their team have remained in constant touch with the community, with the board of directors of the association, etc. And they have provided information on their planning and their progress all along. The club has struggled for many, many years, and now it has an opportunity for success. There is daylight at the end of the tunnel. We hope you'll see fit to recognize and support the commitment and the efforts of the owners to provide what will be a totally new facility for over 1,500 Canyon families who lack such facilities and other members of the city as well. We all eagerly await its completion. Thank you for your consideration, and we hope to have your approval of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have Jeanette Reedy?
Does it look like Jeanette Solano?
So, yeah, Solano.
Unfortunately, she had to leave.
Okay,
So.
thank you. I have Mr. Brian Duran.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Brian Duran. I live at 2900 Graceland Way in Glendale, and I'm the president of the Chevy Chase Estates Association. This evening I'm speaking for the CCA Board of Directors, and I'm also pleased to be before you at a most rare event, which is that the CCA is actually in support of a canyon development project.
Welcome change.
That almost never happened. So this is remarkable, and I'm speaking to tell you why we arrived at this conclusion. You may have seen the position statement that we've submitted to you about the club expansion, and in which we mention how we arrived at our decision to support the club's expansion. We have worked with the owners since they arrived on the compatibility of their vision with our community. We've gauged the reaction of the community through neighborhood gatherings, events, phone calls, and emails. The result of our assessment is that we believe in the sincerity of the owners' wish to create a community center, and we applaud the plans they are proposing to provide for such a center. We've also found that the vast majority of residents have had an enthusiastically positive response to the proposed renovation. There have been a few dissenters, but it should be noted Most people with objections are working with incorrect information, which leads to incorrect assumptions. I've spoken to many of these people. There haven't been many, there have been a few, and once their information has been updated and corrected, they become supportive. So we request respectfully that you recognize and consider that the expansion proposal provides an outstanding opportunity to allow the creation of a recreational facility with long-term viability in the city, and that the alternative, a business that cannot sustain itself and could fail, could lead to possible rezoning efforts and what will surely be a pitched battle. We're impressed with the positive potential of this project for the community, and it is a certainty that surrounding residents who would not even use the new reimagined club would appreciate the rise in value of their property. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I have no further speakers. I'm going to close the public hearing.
You might want to ask if there's anyone.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Yes.
You can come up. I'll take you first, but you need to fill out a card after you're done, please.
Okay, and you will please fill that out afterwards, please.
Hi. I'm Lynn Rabisi. I live at 2860 Graceland Way, and I love the club, and I'm so excited about this, and I'm really support it 100%. And that's all. I wanted it short and sweet, and there it was.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also, Chairman Martin, just for the record, you received support letters also? Yes, from the community.
My name is Dave Higgins. I live at 1539 Parway Drive, and I'm a Hoover High School graduate.
What a tornado.
I live directly across...
Dynamiter. We're dynamiters, by the way.
I live directly across the street from the country club on the west side, essentially right across from the parking lot. As a homeowner and member of the country club, I'm concerned about the club's future. I'm aware that membership has declined in recent years and that many longtime members have left to join country clubs with far better amenities such as full-service dining and more social events. The Chevy Chase Country Club in its current state is not up to par with what people expect from a modern-day country club. I believe the proposed project will give the country club the boost it needs to attract new members and ensure its long success into the future. As with most of the homeowners in our neighborhood, I purchased my home in part because of its country club neighborhood. In the 5 years I've lived here, I've never experienced any issues with traffic or parking. I understand that increased noise is a concern among some neighbors. As someone who lives directly across the street, I will likely be impacted by such an issue. There have been many parties since I've lived here, and at times you can hear music, but the noise is generally muffled, and it always ends at a reasonable hour. It is no different than dealing with neighbors who have parties, except in those cases, the music is often louder, more offensive, and goes into all hours of the night. I understand the new construction will include state-of-the-art soundproofing, which should go a long way to alleviate these noise issues. During the process, the club owners have made efforts to reach out to the community to answer questions, and they've made themselves accessible to club members to raise concerns. I believe this project has been well thought out with the interests of the community in mind. I am hopeful that the project will be allowed to move forward so that the Chevy Chase Country Club can become the vibrant country club it once was and a place that everyone can enjoy and be proud to have in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
A tornado.
Well, I have one more.
Good evening. Edgar Clark, 3271 East Chevy Chase Drive in Glendale. And my house was built for the owner of the country club in 1948. And so I'm sited on the east bank of the golf course. And I haven't talked to anybody about what this is going to look like. I'm super excited and in support of it. But being a neighbor that is actually on the golf course, I kind of think somebody should speak to me about what this is going to look like. And I don't know how to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to entertain any questions or...
There should be a rebuttal period allowed
Yes,
for the applicant.
No.
If you'd like to go ahead
I'm
and
going to
answer.
ask Mr. Afjantan.
Well, with such overwhelming support, I'm not sure what I would be rebutting. So in the interest of time, unless there's something I can do for commissioners.
Putting aside all the, I just want to talk about the design, and I want to ask you a question because I'm trying to understand some of these drawings.
Of course.
It's very difficult for me to visualize this. On the roof plan, you were showing a flat roof here.
It's actually, yeah.
The equipment are set, and I'm assuming these are mansard type of a roof.
Correct.
But when you look at the section, which is, I'm assuming it's the section cut through, well, it's not up, but let me show you the section. Yes.
So I think there was anticipation of how those roof-mounted equipment would work. So we're actually using the ridge of the hip, and then we're going to recess the mechanical units down in that. This section where, so your indication is absolutely correct. This section where that's cut, it should be that. Okay. So I have these. In addition, I wanted to share with you, so that's the same layout that you saw. Hopefully that helps answer the question.
Yeah, and
Since you're looking for that, can I ask him a question?
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Morgan? I was going to ask the question, but I'm not the answer. Roof access? Since you have that area, how are you accessing that roof area?
So that area is actually immediately off the level is slightly higher than the third, the upper floor. So we would actually be accessing it out one of those
rooms?
Yeah, through one of those rooms. And that probably should be indicated on here as well. My apologies.
So I'm trying to, again, understand some of the details that it's being shown that the scale is so small. So I'm going by this architectural character diagram.
Correct.
So some of these details that are indicated on the chimney, I'm assuming you're placing this for the guardrail.
Correct.
And then you have these details and so forth. So, but none of them have been transferred onto the elevations for us to, the idea is that we're supposed to approve the design, but these details, are they going to be incorporated into the chimney caps, or the railings are going to be?
So, again, one of our challenges is unlike a residential job, unlike a residential project in the presentations to DRB, we're limited to the size of those boards that you see in front of you, which are relatively small for a building of this scale. I am happy to lead you through the elevations and show you where those details are achieved, if you wish. I also have that same board large, which I could bring up.
Yes, please.
So if the commission, this was the board that was presented to the HOA, which is a slightly different format than what are submittal to you.
So,
just to be clear, our inspiration, these are more inspirational images. The image on the upper right is the Ojai Valley Inn, which recently went in under renovation. We're not the architect. But what they did is they carried some of the very sensitive aspects of Spanish Revival modernism and landscape in a hospitality setting and has been very successful. So that's one of our images. This lower right-hand image is actually a home, a residential home. But again, the massing, some of the larger pieces that we have, you can see that the overhangs here are mimicked in our design for the north face. The larger archways and the treatment of the columns here are what we're looking for in the development of the porte cochere. The balcony. This balcony here is again interpreted from this.
So my question to you is, I completely understand this to kind of we want to get on our deliberation, but the detail that you have on the chimney cap or the railing detail, is that something that we should expect to see throughout the project, or is it just as a reference, or because
it's more as an inspirational reference? In some cases, we're able to execute it, and we will. In other cases, we're not able to. So, for instance, this is actually a Fremont Place home that's not too far from where I live in Hancock Park. It's not too far from where I live, and we liked some of the character that we were seeing there. Again, some of our challenges is that we will not have true working fireplaces, obviously. Right. They will be gas and, in point of fact, not have flues. So, but yes, we would like to execute somewhat faithfully, Commissioner, some of these details, but thank you.
All right. I think that's it.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Chair?
Thank you.
Those since I got you up here, those exposed rafter eaves, are they at least 4 by?
They are. Yeah, they're substantial.
They're substantial. Okay. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to close the public hearing, and I want to start with you, Mr. Malakian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to commend the architect and the owner's amazing job. I think it definitely needs a renovation, and I think you guys done an exceptional job. Again, some of these questions that I'm asking, we're not here to approve or disapprove, but I just want to put it on the record that as it goes to the council, hopefully it's addressed, or they can kind of be aware of what we are concerned about. As far as the overall design, I think it's a very nice design. I think you've done an exceptional job. One of the things that we usually do and we tend to do is to look at the design and comment on the design, and whatever is presented to us is what we have. We don't like to use our imagination. So that's why when I see details and references that are being placed into the packet and it's not being transferred onto the design, then I start questioning, is it supposed to be there? Is it not? One of the things that I would like to see, and hopefully that can be transferred, is that consistency throughout the design itself. You have chimney caps that are completely, they're 2 different types of chimney caps. Pick one, let's go with that. You have window dividers that are completely, you have different detailing and mullions and that are used. So and overall, I think you want to keep it all consistent. The drawings are going to be what it's being, reviewed and approved, and hopefully staff, when they go out there, they're going to compare that to approve that. As far as the, you pretty much answered most of my questions in regards to the site planning. One concern, not a concern, but a point I want to bring out a point of the pool area. Right now, the way the pool sits, and it's really difficult to kind of. I wish we had a plan that showed the existing and what it was proposed, superimposed on top of each other, so kind of we can see. I was there walking around and trying to understand what's going on. And the pool is going to be pushed all the way I believe it's about 6 feet away from the edge of that railing. Right now it's sitting much further back. And if this, and hopefully it becomes success and everybody's there and, all these tournaments, you got people, in their bathing suits and everything, standing right at the edge, basically about 10 feet away from the edge of the road. And it's just that buffer, I think it needs to be addressed. I think it can be done by landscaping. It can be done by, I don't know, the width of the pool is 29 foot and change. I don't know what that configuration or that number is to make that a legal Olympic size or a competition pool. But that's something that can be looked at. But overall, I think it's done well, and just be consistent. I think the detailing and the design is well executed. I think the sections and plans and stuff, they all have a lot to work on and be coordinated and addressed. But overall, I think it's done well.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Mr. Churchill?
Okay. I'm going to join in those comments for efficiency in part, and I want to say that I commend the community. It's a proud day to be a resident of Glendale, to see the community supporting a project and doing so in this fashion. I don't golf, so this the concept of golfing is a little foreign to me, but I do know that this is a project that has needed a lifeline. This community center, this golf course has needed a lifeline, and I'm glad to see that it's receiving one. The design overall, I think, is exceptionally done, and I do join in that. I think that there's some logistical issues. The refuse, I think, is going to be a problem. I think you've done a good job in dealing with it, with what you have, with the service points and access points, without cutting into the golf course. But I think that that's going to be a concern, and unfortunately is one that will be there. And I want to just put that on the record. I want to talk a little bit about the debris basin, and I don't know if you've dealt with the city on this, but I think this would be a great opportunity, given the magnitude of what Mr. Agkanyan is bringing to the city, that the city partner up also and maybe contribute to this part of Glendale. The debris basin is unsightly, in my opinion. It's concrete, usually has a little bit of stagnant water in it, and this might be an opportunity for the city to partner up and put in some resources to address that. I could envision a parking overflow there from the city side. So I think that that's a conversation to be had with council, and I would be in support of that being something that the city takes on as a possible enhancement along with this project. So I would encourage city council members to take that into consideration. I also would encourage repurposing of some of the materials. You have some beautiful window gates, wrought iron window gates and covers. You're bringing some in. I think those pieces would be great to be repurposed and be kept in the local area for use in other projects, potentially. The issue with the bathers, we'll call them, and that 7.5 foot, 8 foot elevation that goes down to basically half a foot as you go up that driveway. I do think that is a concern and might be an issue. I think the landscaping plan overall is exceptional, but I think that area where you have delineated, I can't remember the type, but it's number 7 on the landscaping plan. Maybe some thought to some additional cover there would be useful. We didn't discuss the monument sign, but I welcome that renovation as well. I think that that's been something that has been an issue in the past. One thought, and I hopefully it won't get too many evil stares for this, would be potentially moving the pool 1 or 2 feet to give a little bit more distance to that row of lawn chairs, lounge chairs and such that you have. And I did read over the parking analysis, and I think that given the limitations on the use that are being self-imposed by the club and just the nature of the club, I usually go to my Rotary meetings at the other country club in Glendale. There are a lot of golfers in the mornings, but I think the number of spaces that you actually have, you would be able to accommodate, and there is the ebb and flow of use. So I do agree with the findings, and I'll go on the record to say that I do think that the parking would be sufficient as planned. So I don't think that the club should be taxed with additional parking issues. That's outside the scope of design review, but since we're not actually voting on this, I think it's appropriate to go on the record to say that as well.
Could you repeat that, please? Could your parking comment?
I reviewed the parking analysis, which was not presented to us, but I think that given the ebb and flow of the uses of the club, that the parking would be sufficient, and I would say that I would not have issue with that, even though that is not a design review issue. My concerns were originally about the use of the parking green, but I see that is being addressed decently in the CCC parking analysis study that was done on October 29th, 2014, for the record. Just want to make sure I don't have... Oh, the last issue is I would just want to make sure that there is not more than 1,500 cubic yards of removal. If there is, we should advise that the city staff take a look at that and just verify that that's not the case, because I don't want to go in that gray area of not dealing with that as we are mandated to do in hillside zones, even though this is a special zoning issue and an overlay zone as well. With that, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Chachin. I first want to concur with my colleagues in their comments, and I want to thank everyone who has attended, and I want to thank the applicant for working with the neighbors and the neighbors working with the applicant in this particular case. And I'm very pleased to see that this country club is being approved and to continue of the operation as a country club. And I've been a resident for a long time. This facility is in dire need of improvements and a new life, and some of you have stated that. And as far as design is concerned, I'm very pleased to see the quality of this design that is chosen, which fits well in the neighborhood. To me, it resembles more of a Santa Barbara Spanish with a Monterey revival or Monterey influenced details, and it's been carried out in a very, very creative manner, and it gives you kind of a resort setting, more of a kind of a luxury setting. In addition, I think the mass and scales are appropriate in this area. It works well with the topography, and it's in the positive direction. Given the high quality of the materials that have been used in this, and I'm assuming it will be carried out throughout the course of the project and implemented on the plan, and I want to concur with Mr. Malikian that these details have to be shown on these plans, whatever your intentions are on the fireplace, chimneys, and I want to make sure that it's two-piece Spanish tile. I do concur with my colleagues about the closeness, the proximity of this deck to the street. Maybe there's a little much railing there. Maybe the railing should be reduced or broken up, maybe wall and railing, not so much railing all around. I think that's inherent in this kind of style of architecture too. Other than that, I'm in support, and I've forwarded my comments to City Council and the Planning Commissioner, actually the other way around. And with that, do you need a motion in this case, staff?
Yeah, motion to recommend.
Approval with...
Do you want us to read back your comments? Okay. a general thought about bringing consistency to the project and depicting this on the plans to make sure that all details such as window muntins, the chimney caps, railing styles be consistent unless there's a design reason to do it otherwise, and then also be depicted on the drawings. General consensus that the pool deck area at the south corner, where it's close to the street, should be buffered in a more appropriate way through landscaping or other means. A comment about the refuse removal to see if there might be another way to possibly separate the refuse from the entry area. Or
no, to clarify, I was just going on record that I think it's going to be an issue, but I was not making a recommendation to make any changes. I believe that given the use of the golf course and the way that the building is established without moving the building or something major like that, you're not going to achieve that. So it's just going on record to say that I think it's going to be an issue, but they're accommodating to the best the way that they can. They're enclosing it. I believe they're also putting in air filter systems to make sure that it doesn't smell. So I think that's the best use that they can come up with.
Okay. We have a comment to recommend that City Council ask others or city departments to explore the possibility of enhancing the debris basin, perhaps even turning it into parking area if that's possible, if it's not currently used or necessary as a debris basin. A comment to repurpose existing materials, especially ironwork at the windows, and I suppose that was either on-site or off-site if not possible. I mentioned the deck wall. Possibility of moving the pool a few feet to the north or northeast from where it is to create a little more space around that kind of south corner. A comment that the board has looked at the parking analysis, which isn't really in your purview, but we can say that the board looked at it and felt it was appropriate if we think that's appropriate for us to put in. And a comment to ensure that grading will be less than 1,500 cubic yards. We'll ask for a note to be placed on the drawings indicating what that amount is. Go ahead, Julia.
And I believe Mr. Foy will chime in. The 1,500 cubic yards was a previous conditional use permit threshold for single-family development in the R1 or ROS zone. That particular grading threshold does really not apply for a project such as this one in the SR zone. You can comment with regards to grading in a general sense in terms of the site plan, but in terms of the actual 1,500 cubic yards grading threshold, that's not something that applies in this case. Just to let the...
Just for clarification, is the record silent on that issue, or does it specifically state that it doesn't apply? I just want to make sure that we're not missing that issue.
The code specifically states that the board is to review it in the R1R and ROS zones.
Right.
So if it turns out, I have no idea how much grading there is here, but if it turns out that it is above 1,500, it's not going to kick in the need for any other type of zoning permit.
I just wanted to be on the record to make sure that we didn't have to deal with it.
But on another note, Mr. Churchin, I think when you excavate or grade more than 50 cubic yard, you're required to have a grading permit. So at that point, but I don't think they're reaching 1,500 cubic yards. But to at least let the record show that grading should be dictated on the cubic yardage at least.
You'll need a grading permit from Public Works, no matter how much it is, pretty much. But it's not going to kick in any new zoning permits.
Okay. Continuing, we have a comment following up on the one about making sure details are consistently applied at the drawings to specify two-piece tile for the roof, which we heard the architect say would be the case, so we'll make sure that's on the drawings. And then a comment to consider or look into breaking up the railing along the pool deck edge, possibly, so it's not as much metal railing, possibly.
It's all metal railing right now, so I think that will buffer a little more. I mean, it continues all around some,
So you're looking at more of a low wall pier
or
relationship?
a whole wall, the same height, and railing, or combination, half wall, half railing. I'll let. He's creative enough to produce these drawings, so I'm assuming he has the. A little more creative juices left in him. So
okay, so we'll make sure our note gives him some latitude.
Okay.
Were you done? Yeah. Okay. And I wanted to join in that last recommendation and also indicate that I think that if that is done, any recommendation that I made about potentially moving the pool would be negated. I want to be clear on that because that would achieve the same thing, which would be a little bit more of a privacy barrier.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we all
That's
done?
everything?
Okay.
I'll take a
Motion.
motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to
motion to recommend approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
So we had a motion by Mr. Chorchian and second by Mr. Malakian to provide positive recommendation along with comments to the City Council. This would be roll call. Mr. Chorchian?
Yes.
Mr. Malakian?
Yes.
Chairman Mardian?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all.
Okay, with that said,
Oh, sorry. I'm jumping up.
there are no other items on this
Can you
evening.
please quiet a little bit until
I'm sorry, we still have the design.
You can
Excuse
use the
us?
gavel.
We're still in a meeting, so you can.
Yeah,
We know it's been really
I think that they're out celebrating already. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen.